Hello, and welcome to the Hipaa Vault Show, where we discuss all things HIPAA compliance and cloud technology. My name's Adam Zenadine, and I'm joined, as always, by the CTO and founder of Hipaa Vault, Mr. Gil Vidals.
Hey, Adam, like that introduction. Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to talking to you today about VMware and Google and all that good stuff.
Yeah, let's dive into it. So we're talking about VMware, and in particular, this is if you haven't checked out our previous episode from I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. I've lost track, but it's one of those two. We were talking about the recent news about VMware's pricing model changing, and so this has led us to have a lot of discussions with companies out there that have been hit, Gil, by the pricing increases in some cases when they've been using VMware to host their applications. And so we thought what we'd do today is dive a little bit deeper into how potentially companies using VMware could save a bit of money by migrating from one hosting provider to another. So, Gil, with that introduction in mind, what are you seeing right now in terms of in the industry? What are the most what are the most pressing and urgent issues when it comes to this VMware situation?
Yeah, I think you're right. We mentioned some of this in the previous meeting, but it's worth going over that again. So what I'm seeing is that there are some smaller businesses, and this is affecting the SMB space, small medium-sized businesses that have had their infrastructure on VMware for many years, and suddenly the price has gone up, but not your typical like, oh my gosh, is inflation, 10% higher, 20%. We're talking 3 to 7x. I've even heard one guy said it went up 10x. So it's a ridiculous increase, and it's so high that let's say somebody was paying $3,000 a month, and that was part of their business model, and all of a sudden they're going to be paying, $10,000 a month. And so that could wipe out all of their profit if they're a small business. I mean, it's pretty serious. So I think that it's from a financial point of view, the increase is so much, it's not something that people can swallow. They're forced to move to another platform that's closer to price of what they were used to having.
Okay, and what solutions are you seeing out there? Obviously, we're a Google Cloud specialist, so the first place that I believe, started to look was within Google Cloud to see if there's any solutions, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing companies that are just scrambling to find. They want the stability that VMware had. VMware, by the way, was I don't know, literally the first, but they're the first virtualization stack that was produced at a large scale.
So virtualization being like the ability to take one machine, one computer, and create multiple computers from it, right?
Yeah,
Virtually.
to create virtual machines. Yeah, they're the ones that really ushered in the era of virtualization. And so many companies, when they got on board, they were the only choice. And of course, since then, there have been many, many others, like KVM is another one I hear about, and OpenStack, et cetera. Now there's all sorts of solutions, but they each have their own pricing. Some are open source. So customers are looking at, let's say, KVM. Some are saying, well, it's time to go to the public cloud, because public clouds have their own virtualization stack. At Google's is similar to KVM. I think it took that technology or borrowed it, or however they did that. I think it's similar to that one. So there are many different flavors and types of virtualization stacks, but I think the key issue here for a business person is like, well, as long as it's stable and works, they want to pay close to what they were used to paying. And so they're out having to hunt around and look for, where could we go? What can we do?
Okay. What are the options then when it comes to migrating over to Google Cloud? So my understanding is that you can either proceed on the basis that you like the way the VMware setup is, but you're not necessarily as happy with the pricing that you've been suddenly provided with, like the price increases, and so you want to stay with VMware, but you need to find a place where it's more cost effective.
Yeah, you're right about that. I was looking at the Google Doc. I think you saw the same document I did, where we are looking at.
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, And I'll explain a little bit about this. So
Yeah.
this is the pricing that Google publishes. And you'll see that it's based on, I believe, on the number of units of RAM.
Here it is.
Okay, so yeah, maybe make that a little bit bigger if you could. So this is basically being able to use VMware in the Google Cloud. Now the advantage is you get all of Google's infrastructure supporting this, so you're going to have a much more robust experience rather than being in a data center where you just have your own equipment, but you're not going to be able to use anybody else's equipment. And it looks like this is based on an hourly price, so they're saying hourly per node. So a node is like a VE1 standard 72. What does a node have? Well, this particular node has 36 cores. That's 72 hyper-threaded cores. So hyper-threaded means the virtual cores. And then the memory is 768 gigs of RAM. Data is 19.2 terabytes. And the cache is 3 terabytes. And it includes the VMware vSphere, the vSAN, the NXX, which is the networking, and then the HCX. So it includes all this stuff, and then you pay per hour per node. So this node, you can see it's $5.34 if you did a 3-year commitment. And if you so that means you multiply that by 24 hours in the day times 30 days in the month. And what did we come up with, Adam? It was like 3,000.
It was around 3,800.
Yeah. Okay, 3,800. So you think, wow, what is that? What does that mean? Well, what's happening out in the world now is that people are complaining, companies are complaining they're paying 3 or 4 times what they used to, or 5 times more. And what were they paying? Well, I remember because we have a VMware cluster that we still run, and our price from years ago is something like 5 points, because VMware has a point system, 5 points per gigabyte of RAM. So this, if you scroll up a little bit more, you'll see that this thing has 768 gigabytes of RAM. You take that times 5, and that number, whatever that number is would be our price. So what does that come out to be?
768 times 5.
Yeah.
It's 3,840.
Okay, so then that's similar to this one. If you take 534 times 24 hours times 30 days, you got something similar, I think.
Yeah, almost exactly the same. $4. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the price is very similar now, but the thing is
that's a monthly price, right?
That's a monthly price. So, but now what's happening is instead of paying the 3,800, people's price has gone up 2, 3, 4x. That means they're paying almost 10,000 a month. So it seems to me that this solution that you're staying in with the VMware, but yet your price is similar to what you used to be paying, this would be a good solution for those that want to stay with VMware, but the pricing is ridiculous where they are. And they say, well, how come the price here isn't as high? Well, Google is Google, right? They're the behemoth in the industry. They're probably have a special deal with VMware, and they're paying millions of dollars a month. And so, yeah, they're going to get a better price. You can't compete with Google. So join them. So this seems viable, but the audience has to do their own math on this. They have to say, well, what's my current bill? What do I pay VMware licensing? What do I pay for the power circuit? What do I pay for bandwidth? All of that. I have to add up their whole bill, look at it, and then come over here and say, okay, could I put everything I have now today on one of these nodes? Again, the node has 768 gigs of RAM and 72 hyper-threaded cores. If the answer is yes, I can get it all in one system, then you do the math, figure out if you needed 2 systems, you'd have to double that.
Yeah.
But very interesting, very easy to do this. You can go online, get your spreadsheet, do some calculations, and then see if it's really going to save you and your business. Then this might be a viable way to do this. Now, there are many advantages. If the price works out for you, then the advantages are you get lots and lots of features that you get because you're in the Google Cloud. Features like really the whole Google ecosystem, including backups, disaster recovery, all of those kinds of things. You're going to be able to benefit from that, from being in their environment. So yeah, I think this is something that those that want to stay with VMware should consider. Now, if you're not interested in VMware, say, well, I don't want anything to do with VMware, then you can migrate to Google Cloud directly and say, well, we don't need this VMware vSphere node. We don't need that special node.
Yeah, I'm interested in talking a little bit about that. So before we dive into that, if you've reached us and you are in that situation where you've recently got a surprise on your bill, or you're about to get billed a much larger amount for your VMware setup, please let us know. You can either just drop us a comment if you're watching us on YouTube. Let us know how similar to what those amounts we discussed are for you, and what you plan to do in order to move forward. Are you thinking of sticking with the same place? But let us know in the comments below. You can also reach out to us if you want to share a little bit more info. Podcasts@hipvault.com. And while you're at it, subscribe and like the video so that we can reach more people and give them more information about it. So with that said, Gil, the second option would be to consider moving away from the VMware based model, right? What does that look like? What goes into that?
Well, just a little bit of background information so everyone's on the same page. So essentially, in today's world, everything runs on a hypervisor. What is a hypervisor? Well, the hypervisor is the platform that has the technology to divide one system into many small virtual systems. That's what the hypervisor is. So the hypervisors that VMware uses, they have their own hypervisor technology. AWS has their own, Google has their own, Azure, there's another one called KVM, OpenStack, and you can make a huge list of them all. They're all the same thing. They're all hypervisor. They're all trying to do the same thing, chop up the hardware resource into small segments. So keeping that in mind, I mean, that at a high level, all these solutions have the same model behind them. Are some better than others? I mean, maybe. But if you stick with the brand names, the big ones, the big public players like Google, Amazon, Azure, that's one sector. Or you can go to a data center, a different data center that has their own equipment. And then you could say, well, what do you guys offer? They might say, well, we offer OpenStack or KVM. I think it's called KVM. I'm forgetting the initials.
Yeah, KVM. I think you're right. It's something like kernel virtualization machine.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
So really, if you wanted to use one of the free, maybe you can find one that's a free version that's still out there and put it on your own equipment. But I don't know how viable, that is. Usually you don't want free because you want support. If there are issues from time to time, and if you can't reach out to the vendor to get help, you could be really in a world of hurt. In other words, if your hypervisor fails and all your virtual machines and all your customers start to go under, you don't have anyone to call. You don't have a contract. There's nobody on the other end. You just have to start Googling and hoping that you figure it out. So if you're running a business that's critical, you're going to want to find one that's got a commercial product that you're paying for. You get support. Obviously, we're biased towards Google because, full disclosure, we bring most of our customers to Google, and but Google has a good price. Google's price is pretty good. In fact, Google's behind Amazon and AWS in terms of market share. So they're, as you can imagine, Google's trying to be very aggressive in winning business, and one way they do that is they offer less expensive resources like storage, CPU, and RAM. So you're getting like world-class security and you're getting a little lower price. So what's there not to like? I mean, it's a good thing to check out. And then of course, Google, what we just showed in the previous screen, Google's offering the VMware node. I mean, that's a computer, right? So you get your own server in the cloud. So you can stick with VMware, or you could say, no, we don't want to do that. We're done with VMware. And that's what we did years ago. I was saying, I'm done with VMware. I've used it for 2 decades, 20 years, and I was done with it. It's like, I have time to move on. VMware has had technical issues that I experienced personally. Like, we're on there and there's some issues where, technical issues that affect the customers. And I'm not going to bash VMware because I use them for 20 years and I think they're a solid product. However, there were times where there were issues and we couldn't always solve it. We'd open up tickets with them and it took a long time to solve. And sometimes they couldn't solve it. Like, they didn't know what was the issue and causing it. And the reason for that is there's so many moving parts. You've got the data center platform, you've got cabling, fiber optics, you've got the storage unit, you've got the SAN unit, the storage, and it has to have fiber optic connecting to that. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but it's got moving parts everywhere. And so you don't know. I mean, VMware doesn't manage your storage. right? That's a different vendor. And so now you've got that storage is critical. So too many moving parts, too many things trying to work together. Who knows? Sometimes they can't solve the problem. So my opinion and my experience is it's better to get out of that world of you managing your own hardware or a legacy data center that's still buying equipment. It's better to go with the public cloud because they've dialed it in. They know what they're doing. And you're going to have a lot less issues in that world when it comes to hardware and the setup and the hypervisor. So my vote is to move into the public cloud. Now, if you choose Google, we'd love to talk to you, but you could always, a lot of people love AWS or Azure. They have their reasons. But I recommend checking out those solutions. Or this one's interesting, the one Google has, where you can use the VMware engine inside the Google platform. I think that's a pretty good solution that you should review.
Well, yeah, thanks for providing that information, Gil. I think it's going to be really helpful to people that are, feel like they're stuck when it comes to the changes in the pricing. And we'll be sure also to link documentation as to the pricing within Google Cloud for VMware, and also migration and how that can take place from private data center to Google Cloud. You can also reach out to us and, we can get on a scoping meeting with you and go through your inventory specifically and advise on that.
Migration's a difficult thing. I've never seen any migration that's just super easy. They're complicated. And when you Google this thing and you find out, well, how do I migrate? I mean, there are all these tools you can buy and applications. And, they always advertise, they're easy, one button push and you move all your stuff over. But I've not seen one work that easily. There's always some issue and some are challenging. So it does take time. It takes preparation. You need to test everything thoroughly when it reaches your destination. So keep in mind, this isn't something that you can do super fast, especially if you're moving from your data center to another data center, the speed, the internet connections between the two. And if you have a big servers, a lot of data, it could take a long time. So be prepared for that and be aware of that so that you don't think you can move out in an hour. This could take a week of planning at least, and another few weeks or maybe a month of actually transferring things over. So something to keep in mind as you were analyzing your bill and thinking, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this problem that we have where VMware's coming like the tax man cometh,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because straight away, I mean, I think we were talking to someone the other day who'd had 5 days notice. And so exactly that, they've got, I've got a bill that's 3-4 times what I was paying previously coming in 5 days. So I think it's important to note that it's not going to be a, instant, but it can be done fairly quickly, right?
Well, once you make the decision, and I think this solution here, maybe for another podcast, we can look to see how we can go into the documentation and see how the actual migration works. And maybe we even want to test it. Maybe we could, install something and test it out, show the audience how it works.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you'd like to watch a video like that, then let us know. And we'd be happy to put something together. All right. So that's it on VMware for today. If you have any questions, podcast@hipaa.com, leave us a comment below. And until next time, thanks for stopping by.